what we were looking at was the college business partnership. And it really became more than just the college of business, but the college, the business, and also just the town of Bridgewater, residents and so forth, that whole relationship, which has been the focal point for decades. It's a marriage that's gone for years. Some aspects of it have been good, some have not so good. It's gone through cycles over time. And what we found in a little snapshot today was sort of the crux of what the issues still are and how to work through them and how to move forward to try to make it a better relationship. And Marguerite and I, I represented basically from the resident and the business perspective, local business, and Marguerite from the college.
And you are?
And basically,
Who are you?
I'm sorry, I'm Larry Silva. I'm sorry. And also a resident, Precinct 1, 1677 Bedford Street. And I'm going to give you the perspective from the business point of view and from the resident point of view. From the resident point of view, to live in Bridgewater, what's going to make it work better is to feel as though you're a VIP when it comes to issues and relationships here at the college. So whether or not it's something that occurs at the college, or whether or not there's a resource here at the college that is afforded to you, if you have that perception that you're somewhat of a VIP because you live in town, okay, that's going to give you a different kind of feel about things. And this goes back 25 years ago, when residents could take their kids to the pool and be able to use it because they were residents of Bridgewater. We've lost the Burnell School, but that was the real beginning of the Burnell School, was the reason for that, was that relationship between the two. Okay, that marriage needs to be reinvigorated. We need to look at how we can actually make the residents and also the business community feel as though that there is a VIP kind of status as it comes to when you step on the campus. From a business point of view, having the opportunity to have some part of the work that's available, whether or not it's professional work, it's contracting work, whatever it is, that there's opportunities for local businesses in everything that happens here. A lot of money gets spent here. If you look at the percentage of money that gets spent and finds its way into local businesses, it's very small, very, very small compared to the magnitude of the amount of money that gets spent here. They're in all other kind of state contracting and everything else, there's set-asides for a certain amount of percentage of this and that. That same kind of preference, whether it be for residents and hiring kind of preferences, or from business, in terms of doing business at the college, there needs to be sort of an encouragement to try to make that happen. And so that kind of gives you a feel for the kind of things that we were looking at. Marguerite can give you a perspective as it relates to how, from the college point of view.
Hi, my name is Marguerite Villera, and I'm Director of Administrative Support Services here on campus. And as Larry has said, you know, we have been here, we coexist together. We need to find ways to continue to improve the relationships between the college, business, and the town. Our students are, you know, the residents on campus, they shop in the local businesses, they get jobs here. So we know that it's existing, but we need to find ways to communicate that out. Some of the discussion around the table, you know, people didn't really know where to go for some services on campus. The campus is big. For instance, we have internship opportunities in the town. One of the programs we have right now is the Connect Card program that we're still trying to expand. We knew that our students are going on in town. They go into the local restaurants. They go into local gas stations, the supermarket, pharmacies. So we were trying to make that service be seamless for our students. Parents are putting money on their card. This is when I talk about the Connect Card, this is a identification card that the students have on campus. It's one-purpose card. It gives them access to the library, and we also have partnerships with about 29 local businesses, and we're still trying to expand that. Another thing that we do now, that we're still trying to get the word out to everybody in town, every September we have our business expo, which is where we invite local businesses to come on campus and tell our students and faculty and staff what their product and services are. I mean, we're not, we have faculty and staff that live in Bridgewater, but some are coming from other places. They may not be familiar with Bridgewater. So again, we're trying to show them what's available in town. It's that partnership that we continue to try to form. So that's where some of these things came up, and some of the discussion was, how do we know what businesses we need in town? Like, for instance, we talked about there's no hotel in town. We have visitors that come from to the campus or even to the local area, but they're staying out of Bridgewater. So, right now we have
Yeah, we need to know what the students really need.
right.
I mean,
What are the students looking for, and what are the businesses looking for?
What's
What
the
is the town
shortcomings?
looking for? Right. So we thought maybe one of the things that we could concentrate on was identify those needs and come up with the solution and the businesses that would accommodate those needs.
Yeah, we identify all these needs, find out from the college point of view, the students, what is it that they're lacking? I mean, they're talking about it in the dorm. I wish this town had something, okay, where it's a theater or something, or whatever it is. But that communication's happening one-on-one in a dormitory. It's not happening so that it's getting out, so that somebody can do something about it and look for an opportunity. Same thing from a business point of view. If you're in a business, be nice to be able to get like a notice that says, okay, this is going out the contract for a piece of work. It has a certain amount of, set aside for local businesses, and they're getting that out to you saying, looking for you to get your opportunity to come in here to be part of that. Or to residents, and basically getting that VIP little badge that says, look, we got this thing that's happening this week, or if it's a group, you want to use the soccer field, there's a talk, because I mean, somebody came to me once, they wanted to use soccer field. I made a couple of phone calls to people I knew here, and I couldn't even get them the use of the soccer field, okay? That relationship needs to be there. That means that mechanism, so that when it's a group that's from town, or it's an individual from town, that they feel as though that they have a little bit of an inroad, or they have a little bit of an edge, because they are the town. They're going to feel better about that relationship between the two. We got to make that marriage work. Basically, what it all boiled down to is quality of life, right? Quality of life from both perspectives. How does the college feel about, their quality of life, of their students, their faculty, and so forth, and how it works for them, and from the town point of view, for the residents, the businesses, and so forth that are here.
And that's some of the discussion that we had about that was with students that live in the local community, what the impact is in the residents, both negative and positive. When we have the arts and sciences on campus that is available to the community with the theater, different things like that. So it's both it's talking about the opportunities and the challenges of the quality of life with the college and the town.
And in closing, basically, it's a marriage. And for this marriage to work, they both want to have it. We're both here, nobody's going away. And for this marriage to work, we both need to be able to not focus in on the little negatives. We need to be able to overlook a lot of those things and not get so bogged down with them that we don't see the bigger picture. So from, if you take and you say, okay, well, we had these drinking incidents that were in the center of town, all of a sudden that's that damn college, okay? And it sort of sets the mindset for how a group of people view what happens here at the college. We have to be at a point of view that we can overlook those kind of things. And in a good relationship, you do overlook the shortcomings of the other individual, okay? Because the bigger picture is that you need to make it work, you want to make it work, and if we do that, I think we can make it work.
Hi, I'm Janet Lee Oros. I'm an attorney and a resident of Bridgewater. And these are the main points of the economic development in Bridgewater Roundtable. We set up what were the 3 priorities here for commercial success in Bridgewater. What were the points that we decided that we needed to focus on. So creating family-friendly college businesses, but also high-tech businesses and biotech businesses. We have 3 business districts in Bridgewater, the center, and that's where we were mostly talking about the family-type businesses. But also we have Route 24, which I think we said 160 acres for development. There's also the Home Depot side, there's development there. And on Bedford Street, going towards the south end of Bridgewater, going towards Middleborough, where it's really empty. I mean, there's so much potential there for businesses. So we talked about how can we create more businesses and make use of what Bridgewater offers, because there really is a tremendous potential there. Second, tax incentives, financing for small businesses. These are areas that we need to build upon. Tax incentives, I think we're all familiar in the news with the film industry and how Massachusetts offers a tax incentive, and in fact Bridgewater was able to enjoy that just recently with a film that came to Bridgewater. Well, I guess that what we discussed was that there aren't very many tax incentives in Bridgewater, and there aren't many opportunities or grants for people to come here and say, it's benefit, let's move into Bridgewater. Financing, that was a big issue. I know we hear a lot about that in the news too. But Stan Kravitz had mentioned that there were 2 particular opportunities where they fast-tracked the businesses, gave them everything that they need. They wanted to come to Bridgewater. The opportunity was there, but they couldn't get the financing. And 2 totally separate, small, well, not actually what we would consider small, it's more of a medium business. They would brought jobs to Bridgewater too, but they couldn't get the financing. And third, to reestablish community business development office or relationships too. We've had that office before in Bridgewater a couple of different times, and it's fallen into disuse, and we'd like to reestablish that. And that would be for the purpose of creating more marketing awareness. That was one of the biggest problems that people said, is perception of business in Bridgewater. It's not a great place to have a business, and that it isn't true anymore, that the opportunity is there. Financing is in particular, financing problems is in particular to Bridgewater. That's Massachusetts, that's the country. That's things that we're all aware of and we're all trying to work on. But just the persona in Bridgewater that, well, maybe Bridgewater isn't friendly to business, it isn't true anymore. We want business. We want all kinds of business. The college students spoke up and just talked about this area, saying, you know, we don't have the opportunity to go out of Bridgewater. We commute. We're going to go other places because Bridgewater isn't providing what they could easily provide. But perhaps we just don't know how. And the first group that came talked about that. You know, how do we develop that collaboration, cooperation with the college? Maybe create something more like Amherst, where the community is just so vibrant with businesses, and the college students stay there, and they keep bringing in more business. And again, how to implement those tax incentives, and that would have to come from the community. The community has to outreach to the state organizations that can provide tax incentives, which will help bring businesses to Bridgewater. I think that's all.
I'm Emmy Hahn, I'm with the Mass Downtown Initiative, and I'd say probably about half our conversation was very much what you just heard. How do you build that stronger relationship between the college and the downtown? And when we came up with this, very much what was echoed by these other comments, what is the market? What do the students need? And then it was very surprising in our group. We had one student who doesn't go downtown, didn't even know it was there. She doesn't think there's anything that she would even go to. Anna, jump in, please.
Okay.
So that was definitely a big theme of what we saw, was how do you make that connection stronger? And what we came up with is that we'd like to survey the students, survey the residents, and survey the businesses to figure out where those holes are.
The Central Business District is not just in downtown. It extends up Broad Street and Hale Street and the whole area. It's not just downtown. We talked about that some of the zoning is in place for businesses to be established. We rezoned on Hale Street for business commercial. But nothing yet is happening for that. Why? Maybe we're not promoting enough, maybe we're not being proactive, maybe we don't have the capacity, staff capacity internally to do those kind of things. The reoccurring thing that came up was traffic and parking around the center of town. Where's the parking? We had in front of us the master plan implementation plan, some good suggestions of what can be implemented to make improvements in these areas, but it's just follow through, how you act on that. Well, what do you you know, where's the movement, where's the activity, because those things can be improved. We talked a lot about taking an inventory. What's an inventory of our parking? What's an inventory of our housing? What exactly do we have in the downtown in terms of business, vacant space, square footage, those kind of things, in terms of marketing?
Yeah, well, I recommended the group, I go all over the state. So I said, first of all, you need your quick first steps that you can do in the next 3 to 4 months. They'll give you the information is inventory all of these areas. What is your actual parking? I don't think there's a town I don't go to that parking is the #1 issue. Very often, parking isn't the issue. You don't know where it isn't signage, you need to know where it is, and then you figure out, can you share parking? You need to know where the sort of
Is it
places.
safe,
Is
too?
it safe? You have a signage, we talked about that a lot in the group. There's a lot of signs in your downtown. How do you get rid of some of that signage so people you can see the sign, the parking sign that tells them to go there? So definitely right now, parking inventory, what you have in terms of public and private. Then you need to inventory in terms of a survey. Find out what do the students want, what do the residents want. And then you can also inventory your housing. There was a big issue about what is the number of rental housing, what is the number of private housing, what is the other type of housing that you have. And that you need to know because when you start building this relationship between the college and the residents, there's going to be touch points that are going to be not, contentious. It was discussed that there's a lot more rental housing going in with a lot of students. What does that mean for the actual residents that have single-family housing? So you need to come up with a way to have a dialogue about how you can create a balance so that it's not an either or pushing one away. You want this to be a community of families and a community of students that want to live here. It goes back to that Amherst. Why is it quality of life? How do you create that quality of life in your town center, which typically is the face of your community, so people want to stay here and be here?
And that's what our group wanted, something that you could initiate within a few months, something that's quick to do. And the inventory, we thought with the help of students is something that we can do. And once we have that, that's information that we can use to build on, attracting businesses to the downtown or understanding what types of businesses students and the public are interested in.
Yeah, I'll start out and you can fill in the holes. My name is David Moore. I'm the building inspector and zoning officer for the Town of Bridgewater, a lifelong resident of Bridgewater. And I was really happy to hear Larry Silver talking about communication. I think that is key to making any of this material move forward. Communication is #1. The second reoccurring thing that I keep hearing coming up in all of these is traffic. You can put all the money you want into business development in the downtown area, but if residents and college students don't get to can't or don't get to those businesses, they fail. I constantly see people come into my office with stars in their head about what they're going to do. They're going to open up a great little shop, whether it be Mexican food or video or nails or whatever, and only to see 6 months later they're gone because people can't get to their business. 25 years ago, Anna mentioned the survey. 25 years ago when I was teaching in high school, I had my technical drawing kids do a survey of parking downtown. And we did a survey and we came up with approximately 900 parking spaces. And if certain barriers were removed, we could come up with another 1,200 parking spaces. And that's incredible when you think about it. You see the gridlock downtown and the few cars that are parked around the center. You can't possibly have even thought that there were 900 parking spaces available today. From the railroad tracks through the center, up to Pearl Street, down to Summer and Plymouth. It's a tremendous number. And in order to make it work properly, they have to be interconnected. So if you're talking about financial incentives, it has to be an incentive to the businessman to take down those fences between the parking areas. Anna, I think where's Anna? Anna, I think you've seen how effective parking behind businesses is in downtown Middleborough. Older people don't like backing out into traffic, so they're going to stay away from Bridgewater Center. But if you can open up those parking areas, you'd have a tremendous improvement. Affordable managed housing in the downtown area, that's a really big one. We have probably 350 multifamily homes in the downtown area. Affordable, well, I don't know, we've got a few 40Bs around, but the key is managed or properly managed. We have a problem right now in town where some of these units are not being managed properly, and unfortunately these improperly managed housing housing units are more of a detriment to the neighborhood. They're driving away the families and the people who have money that'll utilize these businesses. So that's a real serious one. Pat, you want to take the career development?
Yes, that particular goal is more established to try to build into the possibility of what's coming down, what are the major employment opportunities for our region. As most of you probably know, healthcare is one of the biggest ones. We want to make sure that you have opportunities in place for potential training in the future. Manufacturing is another one. And as somebody mentioned recently, in Bridgewater area here, you had an opportunity for filmmaking. That's another area of potential growth in the future, which I think whether it's through the colleges, the local schools, the high school, should be giving up people to start training for that type of workforce for the future. You want me to take the next one?
Yeah.
Economic target areas. I think it's very important that the community look to be designated as an economic target area, because that's the way you're going to compete with some of the other communities in the region that are economic target areas. Because what happens is a developer, usually it's not the developer that goes out and pick out these sites. It's usually a real estate agent that has a checklist of some of the things that they need to check off to be able to pick a site for that development. And if your community doesn't have the opportunity to provide tax incentives, etc., it never even makes the list. So it's very important to try to get, and the only way you can do that is usually now, I think, is through having one of the other communities that is an economic target area expand to Bridgewater. And I think Rainham is an economic target area, and West Bridgewater is also an economic target area, which is part of the Brockton area. So that's something to work forward in the future. Improvements to Route 24 and 104 interchange. I mean, from a regional transportation, this is a major area for future development. It's as you probably noticed, along Route 24, most of the areas that have been developed is along Route 24. So if there's an area along Route 24 that can be developed in the future, this is going to be your bread and butter. And I think it's important to, I know that they just did some improvements at Route 24. They just put lights there because of the expansion of Home Depot. But I think at some point in the future, there's potential for development on the southwest quadrant of Route 24. So I think you should have a goal to try to make this interchange a full cloverleaf interchange so that you can minimize traffic impacts and create a smooth traffic flow and make it easier for developers to develop in that area.
Yeah, I think that brings us full circle right back to the beginning.
Right.
Because if we improve people coming off of 24, make it easier for us to get into Bridgewater Center. Now we've got to go right back to improvements in the central square area. And the last thing I'd like to bring up, the first thing I talked about is communication. And Chris, I asked you, where are we going with all this stuff?